Promised. Today I'm going to do a little thing on alignment. I had just watched a couple videos on on some laser alignment deals, and I was actually somewhat surprised. There, so I'm in the frame here. Alignment is what's all involved in alignment? Well, if you look at the old, like the 1970 cars and that kind of thing, the way they were aligned is a little bit different than the way they're done now. Back then, just like I have here, the A-arm positions were adjustable. So like in the Chevys, you'd stick shims in the A-arms, which would change your camber and your caster, and you'd equalize both sides, because the thing with alignment was whatever you do on this side must be the exact opposite on the other side, because they work against each other, which makes them work for each other. And I'll get into that here in a little bit. But what's really involved in alignment, some of it's already factory set for you. Pin angle, for one thing, which is the line that goes from one ball joint to the other and intersects on the ground. That's already preset in the spindle. The way you can adjust that is by the offset on your rims, so you get the tire to either move in or out. Ideally, what you want is this intersection between the center line of the tire and the kingpin angle. They would normally meet very close to the bottom. Now, they won't meet exactly, because if they're exactly connected, it's not going to track true. And the reason for that is you've got a little bit of a few thousandths of an inch of what we call tolerance stacking. We have a little bit of play on one ball joint, then the other, and then maybe the bearing center here on the pivot arm. Those all work together and you're going to get a wobble. So what you do is you put a little bit of what they call scrub radius. And there's tire scrub, which is the wheel actually scrubbing down the highway, and then there's scrub radius. They're totally different things. Scrub radius is the difference. I'm going to use this center piece here. You've got the kingpin angle actually intersects with this line, and the center line of the tire is actually the other side. So you have a ½ inch of what we call scrub radius. What that does is if you were to take the tie rod off and drive this down the road, this would actually track just fine, except it would turn slightly out. So the bike would tend to want to just gradually go over to the left. The other side has the same thing. So if you were to take both tie rods off, obviously you couldn't steer, but the wheels would both angle out slightly. So that's what scrub radius does. It makes the two tires work against each other, which compresses all the little tolerances and all the play in the tie rods and that kind of thing, so that you don't get wobble. It shrinks up it puts pressure on all those points so you don't get any wobble. So that's an important aspect to think about. Basically, on mine, I can adjust the bottom A-arm. I can pivot the A-arm so I can adjust my caster, or I can put shims in here and kick the A-arm in and out, which will change my camber. The most common thing you can do on basically vehicles now, especially the Spyder, I'm going to focus on the Spyder because it's so similar to this. You have one thing you can adjust. That's toe. That's the only thing you can adjust. You can adjust your caster, that's factory set. Camber is factory set. You can alter the scrub radius by changing the rims and the tires, different offset. But other than that, you really can't. And you probably aren't going to do that because you can't get rims that are non-standard for the Spyders. You can get different style rims, but they're all going to have the same offset, and they're going to run basically the same tires. You can run these tires that I have right here on a CanAm Spyder, which is an upgrade. The Kenda tires are not very good. So that's it. That's all you can adjust. What does And what does toe do? The only thing you can adjust is toe. All the toe does is set up tire wear. That's it. It's really kind of weird because this is why this laser alignment thing is so crazy. Toe doesn't really affect the driving that much, and toe is a glorified guess. There is no absolute correct number to use for toe. There's a manufacturer's suggested amount, which means under the normal conditions, normal tire, normal inflation, normal rims, all that, you would set up, typically like on mine, it's between 1/8 of an inch and 3/16 positive. And it's important, that number is important, so keep that in mind. If the toe is off, what will happen is you'll get tire scrub. Not scrub radius, now this is where scrub comes in. If they're towed in too much, it's gonna wear the outside and it's actually gonna wear the tire this way. So this edge will get what I call feathery, and this edge here will be rounded because the tire is actually grinding down the highway. Both wheels will do the same thing. If it's towed out, just the opposite. It'll scrub this way. So your tires are like spark plugs. You can look at your tires and it tells you everything that's wrong or right. If it's wearing in the center, you get too much air in there. If it's wearing in the outside, you have not enough. Plain and simple. I'd say the majority of the Spyders I see, the centers of the tires, especially the back, are all worn out. And the edges here are like brand spanking new because they're running way too much air pressure. So that's a cue right there. So how does the laser alignment thing work? Well, it's really weird. You take the hub off of, on the Spyders, I'm talking the Spyders now, you take the hub cover off and you basically put a magnet on there. And then you have a laser light, which is just basically a flashlight that points to a really tiny point using a red laser. So they point it down at the ground, put a piece of tape on the ground, put a dot there where the laser hits. And the laser is perfectly perpendicular, it's got a level on it. Do that on both sides. Then there's a target behind the bike, which it points to. So when you roll the bike ahead so that this is 90 degrees facing straight back and it hits that target and you put a piece of tape and a mark on those, then you roll the bike back so it faces forward and you put a mark on your target there. So now you've got these targets that are probably, I'm going to just estimate 12 to 14 feet away from each other, front to back. The question I have is, why? It doesn't make any sense. Why are you having these targets way back there for a setting that doesn't require high accuracy? You know, what affects the, why do we tow the thing in? Let's look at that real quick. Like, why do we tow the wheels in on a back wheel drive unit like this? On a front wheel drive, you would tow them out slightly. Back wheel, you tow them in. Now, one of the wives' tales is that, well, you know, the tire is resisting movement, so it's going to squeeze everything together, and this takes all the bending out. Well, no, it doesn't do that. All this in here has already been loaded. It's loaded with the scrub radius. So that's under a slight load. When I say slight load, I'm saying probably 5 pounds of pressure. What's actually happening is the tire itself is resisting, there's rolling resistance. It's resisting the fact that it's rolling and it's being pushed. So what happens is the tire actually distorts ever so slightly, like maybe about 1/1000th of an inch. And what you're doing is you're compensating for the distortion of the tire. That's why on a back wheel, you tow it in. On a front wheel drive, you tow it out because it's different. Now on a front wheel drive, you're actually using torque. So you're actually pulling on the tire, which makes it distort the opposite direction. This should be pretty straightforward. So that's exactly why you have toe in, toe out. Nothing else. There's no other reason for it. That is it. There's no bending, there's no any of that nonsense. One of the things that came up too was, oh, the tie rods. Because these are a one-piece tie rod, as the wheel moves up and down, the arc that is formed by the tie rod is different than the arc that's formed by the A-arms. So that the toe will actually change as the bike goes up and down. But typically, the motorcycle, the trike will ride fairly close to where it is right now. And this is why you do all your alignment while the system is in its riding set. You don't ever want to jack up the front of the bike or trike or anything to make this adjustment because it changes all the settings. So, you know, and it came up that, well, as it hits bumps and stuff, it causes bump steer. Well, not really. What causes bump steer is the improper scrub radius. You have too much scrub, it's going to cause bump steer. But the tie rod thing, not really. It can cause a little bit of it, but it's not going to be much of an effect. The other thing that it kind of got me all weird about this is the first thing they said is get the handlebar square, which is true because you don't want the wheels at an angle when you're trying to adjust them. You want them fairly in a straight line driving mode. But they go on saying that the wheel should be parallel with the back and that you measure the line that you create between this dot and that dot, you measure to the wheel on each side, and if that measurement's off, then you adjust to get that squared away. Well, no. they track. It's not going to dog track, it's not going to crab walk or any of that stuff. If the wheels are turned like that, so they're turned ever so slightly. So now here, I'm going to measure to the back wheel, I'm going to have about 16 inches. On that side, I'm going to have about 4 feet. So I'm supposed to adjust this so that the numbers are exactly the same, or there, you can do that. As soon as you start to move, it will do that. It'll always, if you're going straight down the road on one of these things, and you stop and you actually are going absolutely straight, that measurement will be the same both sides. Now, if I adjust one tie rod and not the other, oh, it's going to pull to one side. No, it won't. What's going to happen is the wheels will automatically divide up. This is the thing. That side is 180 degrees opposite of this one. So what's going to happen is the wheels will center themselves. Now, they might be towed in, they might be towed out, but they'll be exactly the same. And the handlebars will be crooked. So what you need to do is adjust your tie rods to get the handlebars straight. Whenever I take them for a test drive, first thing I do is I drive in a straight line and then I check the handlebars. If they're crooked, I tighten, or I should say, I shorten one tie rod, lengthen the other one in order to get the handlebars straight. You will never make the bike pull to one side or the other by having the toe wrong, or by adjusting one tie rod. In fact, a lot of times, if it needs like just a little bit of a tweak, I'll adjust one tie rod half a turn, which will probably change the toe, you know, a 1/16 of an inch, but it's enough to make a difference. So let's, you know, the whole thing with this, having these targets way out apart, it actually is not very accurate. Not that it really needs to be, but it seems like a lot of horsing around for something that is so incredibly simple. So let's look at how normal adjustments are done. Now this bracket is actually designed for ladies. It hooks on the rim. It's got these little pegs here, and it's got a little hollowed out section right here on the point. And it clamps on the outside of the rim just like that. And on the bottom, like that. And you tighten this up. Now I'm locked into the rim. These bars right here are perfectly aligned with the rim. There's a target plate here, which I have my camber adjustment gauge on here, which tells me how much camber I have. You can mount a laser light right on this plate right here. So there's a plate here. This is about 4 inches in diameter, 3.5 inches in diameter. and I've got my little gauge stuck on it, but it got a magnetic base. So you can put a laser on here, but what you really want to do is have your targets right here. The toe end is measured off basically the length of the tire. So I put one of these brackets on each end. This is the way alignments have been done since the beginning of time. This bar right here, let me measure it. Typically it's about 24 inches. I think this is a little bit more, 26. So it's 26 inches, 26 inches across. The one on the other side is identical to this one. You run a tape to the front, you run a tape to the back. You set your toe at 3/16 positive. And that's what the Spyder should be, 3/16 positive. And it's really simple. It's just a matter of adjusting the wheel so that the measurement in the front is 3/16 of an inch less than the measurement in the back. It is that simple. How accurate is that? It's absolutely accurate on an adjustment that is a glorified guess. And it is a glorified guess. The tire, as soon as you change tires, that can go out the window. The tires all have a slightly different wear pattern. The amount of air you put in is going to affect it. The amount of weight. You know, if you're a two-passenger, one person, if you're a light person, heavy person, if you load the trunk with a lot of stuff, or you don't load it at all that affects how this handles tow, because it's going to make the tire squat a little bit or less. So you have to watch your pattern, and you know, if they start to wear after about 4,000 or 5,000 miles, if you start to see that little bit of feathering, say it's this way, well, what you do is you shorten each tie rod by half a turn. It's a guess. You tighten, you will loosen by, or reset it by half a turn, and your wear pattern should improve. Ideally, you can go 45,000 miles and never have to touch them. 3/16, 1/8 inch to 3/16 on this and on the Spyders, you should get 40,000 miles on your tires, if not more. It's really that simple. I just don't understand all the, well, you know, the thing is too, as soon as you mention lasers, like I'm using tape measure. Now, if I was to say laser, all of a sudden I would be 300% more accurate because I said laser. I guess I should say atomic. I use atoms to adjust this. I don't know. I was just really surprised to see how convoluted and crazy the whole laser alignment thing really is. You know, and then they've got these charts and they're doing 4.5 inches of toe in and all this stuff. Do it right here. The most accurate thing you can do, now that I have the body of the bike off, is hook a tape measure on here and on that tire, and same thing on the back. That's every bit as accurate as you want to get. I don't know. That's my take on the whole. That's why I don't recommend laser alignment. I just don't. For one thing, I can line up this or a Spyder in about 10 minutes, if that. This probably 5 minutes. A Spyder maybe 10 because they're a little harder to work on. It's hard to get. I've got a trick on getting the tie rods loose. That's kind of a trick, depending on if they were gorilla tight or just normal tight. If they're gorilla tight, that can be tough. Getting the tie rods loose is the main part of it. The adjustment's nothing. And you never look at the back wheel. You forget that. That makes no sense at all. You adjust your front end, the back wheel will follow, and it will not. If it dog tracks, the only way you can get it to dog track is the frame has to be bent. It has to be hinged here, like in this area here. If the frame is bent, that makes a difference. If the back wheel is crooked, that'll make a difference. It'll dog track. You can't really run the back wheel on these. You can't run it back, or you can't make it not be straight because this is a shaft drive. On the Spyders, if the belt is off that much to make it track funny, your belt is going to be shot within feet. That would take a lot. So I think the normal charge for laser is about 120 bucks from what I could gather. I would do an alignment for 20 bucks because I could do 10 an hour. Easy. I just don't understand it. But, you know, there's an old saying, ignorance is bliss. And when you come into the repair business, and if you're an unscrupulous character, the more ignorant your clientele is, the more money you're probably going to make. I mean, you see it all the time, people being taken advantage of by shady mechanics and stuff because they tell them something's wrong and it really isn't wrong. It's a real minor thing. Your check engine light comes on and they say, oh, you're going to need a new motor. Well, you probably need to get a different gas cap is more than likely what it is. You know, so the only reason I'm doing this video is to warn you, I would not waste my money on laser. If you really want to do it yourself and you don't want to buy, now I've got probably $600 tied up in my brackets there. Plus the, well, probably altogether, probably $1,000. But you know, I do this for a living, so I need quality equipment. If you want to check your alignment, the best thing to do is look at the tires. If they wear right, you're good. You know, I think the biggest issue is people think, you know, the bike, when they first get a trike like this, they tend to be a little bit, well, the Spyder guys will call it dodgy, where they'll drift back and forth, and there's a good reason for that. Remember I mentioned scrub radius. Well, what happens is the scrub radius on one tire is different than the one on the other tire. Well, if the scrub radius on this tire becomes wider for some reason, say instead of being a ½ inch, it's out here someplace, which can happen because the road is not necessarily flat. It's got little valleys where the trucks run and stuff, and the trucks have about a 7-foot wide wheelbase. This has a 5-foot wide wheelbase. So the wheels are actually kind of sitting on this rounded hump, and it's going to drift back and forth because your scrub radius from one wheel to the other are going to vary, which is going to cause the bike to do this. You kind of swim down the road, I guess. And that's why going down like a flat concrete highway, they're perfect. There's no wandering, nothing, but you get on a tar road, and all of a sudden you notice a little bit of this drifting, which in time you just get used to. You get used to it, and it doesn't really exist. It's just at first because you're hypersensitive and you're unsure and you've never ridden one. Everything is exaggerated in your mind. So the first thing people do is say, well, it's out of aligned. It's got to be this. It can't be me. So they take it laser aligned, which doesn't do a thing to affect the ride or improve it or anything. But now mentally, because they just had it laser aligned, it all of a sudden now, gosh, the thing goes down the road just wonderful. You know, so it's crazy. There is a lot to be said for the power of the mind. You know, like I've always said, anytime you do an adjustment or change something, you're going to have about a 90% mental change and the 10% actual change. You learn after a while that you suppress your euphoria when you change things, and you learn that give it some time. There's times when I've done things where I think, wow, this made an improvement, only to find out it actually got worse. Yeah. So anyway, if you really want to talk about alignment, there's a lot to it. It's not just toe. Toe is actually the least important part of the whole thing as far as making the machine run properly down the road. Like I say, its primary purpose is controlling tire wear. All the other stuff, caster especially, if the caster is different from one side to the other, it's going to wander off to one side. Caster has to match within ½ a degree. Camber, if the camber is off a lot, you get what you call camber thrust, which is how a motorcycle steers. If you look at the stock car racer guys, a lot of times they'll have one wheel, so they always go counterclockwise. So that wheel over there would be cambered way out, and that allows them to turn left easier because they're getting camber thrust assistance when they go around the corner. So it allows them to hold the line when they're going around the corner. You know, that wouldn't work on the street application because you actually have to go both ways. So that makes a big difference. There's a lot of stuff that is preset that you can't change, which is probably a good thing. Or you'd have people probably changing a lot of things. So tow is it. That's all you're going to change. I don't care how much money you spend. I don't care if you use atomic forces or the Star Wars forces or whatever it takes. Nothing's going to be 100% accurate because you're dealing with something that is infinitely variable to a small degree. It's a glorified guess on where this alignment thing is, but rule of thumb is usually 8 to 3/16 positive. That'll work. That's the way I set up the Spyders, and from what I can tell right now, that is that's working. That's working. So hopefully this will at least clear some of the smoke. I don't know. We'll see.